let's go to Clemson baseball. Now that it's all over, it's been a couple of days since that tremendous super regional at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. Coach Erik Bakich has had a couple of days to digest things, look things over, think about the future. And he joins us now live here on Sports Talk, and we appreciate that very much. And as we now traditionally do when we have Coach with us, Coach, how are you tonight?
Well, hey, good evening, Phil. How are you? Doing great.
Good. How you feeling?
Dangerous, baby.
There you go. All right, so I've been wanting to ask you this question since the game ended. Of course, they wouldn't let you talk to us after the game. Nobody knew that was going to be the case. There was a lot of things going on there that nobody knew about. We were in the dark about a lot of stuff there, the 13th inning. So going back to the 13th inning, when the umpires were gathered on the infield after the home run, and they were talking, and that led to ultimately the ejections of you and Coach Leggett. What was it that sparked you guys to come out of the dugout? Because as it turned out, they were not going to eject the player. So what was it that you guys saw that led you to come out of the dugout and led to the ejections?
Well, first off, let me just start off by saying, Phil, that the umpires aren't why we lost. We didn't play good enough. Florida beat us, so I don't want. I get asked. I'm getting asked nonstop about the umpires. The umpires aren't why we lost. We lost because we got beat fair and square. So let's just get that out there. But when Alden Mathis spiked his bat, they all got together right away, and you could tell it was the type of get together right away to determine that if he's going to be ejected for unsportsmanship. So I ran out there right away to say he spiked the bat at our dugout, which, that's been allowed as long as you do whatever you're doing towards your own dugout, not to the other team's dugout. And they, shooed me away, and they continued to meet. And our whole dugout was very animated. Coach Leggett was animated. Everyone was animated. And at one point, they looked over, or the crew chief looked over, saw Coach Leggett, yelling from the dugout, and ejected him. And then Coach Leggett, walked out onto the field. I kind of gave him a low five. He walked out there just kind of halfway to the white line. When he did that, I turned to the crowd and, raised my arms to the crowd, pumped up the crowd for, maybe a couple of seconds, incited the crowd. And then that was it. It kind of shooed everyone back, and they continued to meet, and we all kind of stood by the railing of the dugout. And then finally, when they were done meeting, they called me over. I walked over, and they said that they were not going to eject Alden Mathis for the bat spike, but Coach Leggett is ejected, and he's not only ejected, he's suspended because he's a non-coaching staff member coming out of the dugout, so he's suspended. And then I started to argue that, are we really gonna suspend Coach Leggett And he said, yeah, not only that, but because you incited the crowd when he came out, you're ejected too. And then they tossed me and walked away. And so that was kind of how it all unfolded. That's the Cliff Notes version of it. And then I, wanted a further explanation. The guy walked away right after he tossed me, and that didn't even get really the chance. So I just, went after him. The umpire warned me if I keep going, I'm going to get 2 games suspension. I said I don't care, and got the I deserved the 2-game suspension because I prolonged the thing, and I know I did. And at that point, I was already ejected, so it's like might as well get
your money's worth, right?
Yep. So that was kind of it. That's how it went, and it's unfortunate. A lot of good officials will kind of diffuse the situation, and I just in the moment I felt like that it was more antagonistic, but it is what it is. It's time to move on, and that's what we're trying to do right now.
Absolutely. I got to tell you though, from where I was sitting outside the press box, as an observer, just sitting there watching the whole thing, I mean, I loved it. I thought it was great, whether people agreed with what you did or disagreed with what y'all did. I mean, I loved it. I don't think I've ever heard a crowd at Clemson, when Jack came out of the dugout, I mean, they took it to another level. They took it to another level, and then, of course, watching you scoot across the field, I mean, I just that's baseball to me, and that's old school baseball. And I happen to, I mean, I think it was great to watch. Great theater at a critical time in a baseball game, and you're winning. Okay, you didn't lose your player, so you're winning. Where did you guys? And it was so confusing because was Coach Mazer also thrown out?
He was not thrown out. No, it was just Coach Leggett and I. No one else was tossed, but we were very concerned that Alden Mathis was going to get tossed, which is why everyone was, up in arms when they immediately grouped together after the bat spike, which, it's I still don't know. He on video clearly spiked it right towards our dugout. It was nothing towards Florida's direction, but yeah, that just got everyone, the alarm bells going off that they're about to toss Alden, not because he's going to be out that game, but if we were to win that, he would have been out the next day as well.
So where did you and Coach Leggett go after you got ejected?
We just went into the coach's locker room and watched on TV.
Oh my!
Yeah, that was not the ideal place. Much rather would have been out there with the team, but yeah, I mean it's unfortunate the way it all happened.
How did you feel? Because now you're back watching on television. You're leaving it with your other coaches and your players, but you've got the lead. You're 3 outs away from forcing a third game. You got Darden on the mound. How'd you feel going to the bottom of the 13th?
Felt great. Felt great. Florida earned it. They got a couple of base hits, got the bunt down. We intentionally walked him, which was the right move to set up a force. And the guy left on left hits a 2-run single. So I mean they beat us. They played better and they earned it. They earned their trip to Omaha. And I was convinced that once Cam Cannarella tied the game and made the game-saving catch, that there was no way that we weren't gonna not come out on top. I was convinced we were gonna win that game, and I think everyone had that belief. Everyone in our dugout, everyone in the crowd, and just credit to a hot Florida team. They did what every sports team wants to do. You get hot at the right time, and it doesn't matter what they did at any other point in the season. They got hot in the regionals and the super regionals, and they earned a shot to go to Omaha.
Yeah, that's what it's about, getting hot at the right time, and that's the time to get hot. Had you forced a third game, what did you have left pitching-wise? Who would you have started on? What day would that have been? Monday. Who would you have started? What did you have lined up for pitching?
We actually had plenty of pitching. Matt Marshall hadn't pitched yet. Lucas Malstat was able to come back. We felt good about everybody. Jacob McGovern, Drew Titsworth, Billy Barlow could have come right back. Matt Marshall was the most rested in terms of all of our starters. Rocco Reed hadn't thrown yet. Nick Clayton. So we had Rob Hughes. We had plenty of options. We would have pieced it together, and I think we would have been. It would have been one of those momentum things where we would have staged a furious comeback, and Cam Cannarella being his own personal highlight reel and making the greatest catch in the history of baseball. I don't think we would have. I don't think we would have been stopped on Monday. I wish we could have gotten there.
So you put that catch over, of course, Willie Mays and Jim Edmonds. You say that catch tops those two?
I do, just because of the stakes of the game and what it meant. Not only is the game over, the season's over, and to make that kind of catch and to run that distance and the jumping up the hill into the wall, it was just the best, not just the best baseball catch. It might be one of the best defensive plays I've ever seen in any sport in such a high leverage moment. You can't put a grade on Cam Cannarella's clutch gene. It's whatever the grading scale is on that, he's off the charts because he just has that it factor. he's able to perform at the very, very top of his skill set when it matters the most. And that's the it factor. That's the superpower that he has. He's hyper competitive. He's just an awesome, awesome baseball player, as we all know, but he's even better when it matters. And he's not only going to help us get to Omaha next year, but this is a guy that, when he's in Major League Baseball, he's the type of guy that's, getting the hit to win his Major League team the World Series. He's that player. He's that Mr. October type of player.
Wow. Willie Mays, Reggie Jackson, all lumped into a really, really good center fielder. Erik Bakich, head coach at Clemson, joining us here tonight on Sports Talk. And, Coach, let's stick on Cam for just a moment. Everything you just described is spot on accurate. And then we find out after the the super regionals, he's been hurt pretty much the entire season. He's going to have shoulder surgery later on this summer. How much, I can't imagine it affected him all that much watching him play, but how much did it affect him, and how much maybe did it change the way you approach him on the base paths? Because I'm not sure he stole nearly as many bases as maybe you would have liked if he were healthy. Is that fair?
Oh, it's 100% accurate. I mean, he tore something in his shoulder in the fourth game of the year, diving into third base on a steal, and it limited all of his throwing for a few weeks, and then he got to a point where he could lower his slot and throw from the outfield and still be, serviceable, but he wasn't able to throw at 100% in center field, but he still threw accurate and he still got the ball in right away. And then we basically said no stealing any bases this year, not because we didn't want him to steal, but we didn't want him to get a big lead off first base and have to dive back to first base on a pickoff. So he never really got a big lead at first base. And so, yeah, there were a lot of parts of the game that were affected, but, it never stopped him. I told him he's not allowed to dive head first anywhere. So if you notice, anytime he ever ran in, anytime he ever ran in on a play, he always slid feet first to make a sliding catch, never a diving catch running in. But it never stopped him, and I would always hold my breath. It never stopped that kid from crashing into the fence. He made so many catches crashing into the fence, and I just gasped, thinking, no, just let it be a double. It's okay. And he can't help himself. He's just such a competitor that he would make these unbelievable catches, but none better than the one to save our season in the bottom of the 10th.
I don't know that you have anything that's missing, so to speak, to be able to go through with your prophecy of making it to Omaha next year on the back of Cam Cantarella. But if you could wave a magic wand this offseason on your team for next year, team 128, I believe, if you could wave that magic wand, what piece of the puzzle do you believe would be able to help you get over the super regional and back to Omaha?
That's what we've been doing the last 3 days is all the player exit meetings and then just kind of doing a real needs assessment. And so it's just, you kind of look at what are we losing, and, do we have that coming up in the system? Is someone going to develop and absorb that? Or do we need to target something in the portal, someone in the portal to bring it in? So, we are losing. If Will Taylor signs pro, which we think he's got a great shot to do that, then that means we'll be losing 74 home runs from our offense. And we know we can absorb a lot of that with our current roster, but, maybe not all of that. So some power hitters out of the portal would be a target. And then, we're expecting that Tristan Smith and Austin Gordon, who are, Tristan frontline weekend starter, Austin Gordon's, premium closer, looking at our pitching staff, all right, who can absorb, those starts and those, the back end lightning bolt, the shutdown guy. And, and then just figuring out, all right, who's a candidate to take over that spot. We know we've got Aiden Canuck is, going to be the headliner in the weekend rotation. And, what is there someone on staff that we feel like is ready to make this jump? Is there someone in the portal that we could plug and go? And those are all the things that we're looking at. I mean, every division top of Division I college baseball program is, going to tell you there's no such thing as too much good pitching. And so we're obviously looking at all the best portal targets out there, as is everyone else. But, power hitters, premium pitchers, those will be probably the two things where we'll focus in on. And so, we're excited about the leads that we have, but we're mostly excited about the players we've got returning.
Yeah, and of course, it is portal time. I think a couple of your guys been reported are in the portal, Blauser and Barlow. You know of any others at this point, or is that where it stands right now?
That's where it stands right now. You never want to see guys go into the portal, but you certainly understand when they do. And I'd like to think that there was open and honest dialogue with all of them, and they'll always be, Tigers, even if it was just not for the full term. Would want to continue to stay in touch and follow their success, and certainly wish those guys the best, and look forward to following their collegiate careers.
Now, you guys open the season next February, if I'm not mistaken, in that event, that tournament in Arlington. Does the suspension, does that carry over with you to next season? Do you have to sit out the first 2 games of next year?
That's my understanding. Yeah, I'll be sitting with you, Phil, in the press box. So,
Globe Light Field, huh?
Yep. Globe Life Field, be in the press box. So not ideal, but that's I did not take their warning, and I stayed out on the field, and I very much earned that 2-game suspension. And given the circumstances, I would do it again too.
Your staff, how do you feel about the staff staying together? Anybody being approached by outside interest? Do you feel like your staff will be together in 2025?
I think our staff's going to be together. Jimmy Bellinger and Nick Schnabel are 2 of the very best in the industry. They're both ready to be head coaches. Have both separately been contacted by some of the other smaller Division I jobs that have come open already in this cycle, but they've both passed on those so far. I think if we're going to lose those guys, my hope would be to lose them to a Power 4 head coaching opportunity. They're both that level. And then, the rest of our staff, Griffin Mazer is a rising star in the coaching world, and going to hang on to him. And then our non-coaching staff, Ben Paulson, Phil Pohl, Brad Owens, 3 of the very best to do it. Obviously, Ben Paulson and Phil Pohl, great Clemson Tigers, who are able to work with our players in kind of a non-coaching way. They're able to throw BP, they're able to hit fungos, they're able to, administer some duties without being coaches, but they are super valuable, just their experience in professional baseball, Ben Paulson being in the big leagues, Phil Pohl being a coach in the big leagues, and just both of them, just a wealth of knowledge. And then, Brad Owens, he's a guy who's going on 18 years, was the baseball operations for Coach Leggett, for Coach Lee. And now he's our chief of staff here and just really makes this entire operation go. And then, of course, Coach Leggett helping out and being the just the mentor and the friend and just the awesome person that he is, that just really just sheds so much wisdom to all of us, to our coaches, to our players. So, yeah, I love our staff. I love everything about them, and want to keep them all together, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
What was the first thing that went in your mind when you heard that Paul Mainieri had been hired as a new coach at South Carolina?
Excited for him. Paul's, the college coaching fraternity is a small fraternity. I think everyone would tell you that. And so I was actually excited for all 3 of them, for Coach Mainieri, for Coach Lee, and for Coach Rooney. I've known all 3 of those guys a long time. They may be at our bitter arch rival, but they're all good dudes and good people. And so, very happy for them and these opportunities that they're getting. And, Paul Mainieri is one of the best college baseball coaches to ever do it. And so to have him back in the game, it'd be no different than having Coach Leggett back in the game, Pat Casey back in the game, guys that, just are Hall of Famers that just can bring so much wisdom. So, yeah, I know we're rivals and we'll be bitter rivals and hate each other when it's time to play the game. But right now, it's right now just, happy for them and look forward to shaking their hand when I see them on the road.
Well, here's what I suggest. The neutral site game of the 2025 series, I think we should have Coach Leggett, who by then will be right about 71, and Coach Maneri will be 67. I think they should line up and have a dash down the first baseline, or maybe just run the bases. See who can run the bases the fastest.
Well, I got my money on Coach Leggett. I see him, take ground balls and throw and run and dive into huddles every single day. So that's a no-brainer. I'm always going to bet with him.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out to be with us tonight. I know you've been wrapping things up after an incredible weekend. One last thing, we'll let you go. We've got about a minute, but the atmosphere at your place was, it was just off the charts. You ever seen anything like it?
It's the best atmosphere I've seen in college baseball, and that's including being an assistant coach in the SEC for 7 years. That was the most electric college baseball atmosphere. I can't thank the Clemson community and the Doug Kingsmore faithful enough. We're addicted now. We got a taste of that atmosphere. We are totally addicted and want to recreate that every home game and make sure that we're bringing the postseason through Doug Kingsmore from here on out, because that was just the best atmosphere that we could have asked for. We challenged everyone. We asked for it, and we got more than what we could have wanted. So for all the Clemson faithful listening, thank you again. Let's go. That was awesome. Let's run it back.
Chris has dubbed it Club DKS because of the –
and you're welcome to use that, but I just want a little bit of the royalty from your marketing department.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of the marketing department, Michael Marianos runs the sound system, and it should be Club DKS. He already told me we need to replace all the speakers because he blew them out with the volume at level 10. So
I can promise.
Music to my ears.
I can promise that's the case. Coach, we appreciate it. Have a great little bit of a summer vacation, camp time, recruiting time, not much downtime. But we thank you. Congratulations on a great year. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Okay. There you go, Coach Erik Bakich. And great explanations about things, huh?
And you heard it. If you start seeing T-shirts pop up at Clemson Baseball with Club DKS on there, I want my royalties.
That's our NIL.
Exactly.
We want.
That needs to come through.
Well, it's
Sports
yours.
Talk.
You came up with the idea.
Hey,
I didn't know what you
running
were talking about. I really didn't have a clue. And I know that at stadiums between pitches, you might hear something like doo 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 doo, or
sure.
But they were playing all little snippets of various forms of music, of songs in between. I'd never heard that before at a stadium where they played snippets of a song between the pitches. It was never a quiet moment in that stadium from the opening bell. Be right back.